Shane Stokes once said, "Truth is hard, propaganda is cheap." Keep this in mind as we discuss today the geopolitical and economic impact of Canada's detention of the Chinese executive Meng Wanzhou. My name is Dr. David Oualaalou.
And my name is Dr. Ross Stewart.
And you are watching Geopolitics in Conflict. We have now a new membership on Patreon in which we provide an in-depth analysis, and also some of its perks is the early release of our videos. So if you like our videos and you want to support us, consider that membership. So back to the topic.
As we discussed in part 1, Huawei, Meng Wanzhou, arrested December 1st, 2012, in Vancouver, highly irregular. The charge was fraud, although she wasn't even informed at that time. And we want to do a second part because the issues are so complicated. Where would you like to go with this, David?
Well, as we mentioned in our first part, we talked about the economic, and today we're going to be addressing the geopolitical ramifications.
Oh, and are there some? Wow.
Of that detention. Yes, there will be some major geopolitical impact to her detention, especially if he gets extradited to the U.S. in August.
Which is happening relatively quickly.
Well, exactly. This is why the Judge Holmes, allowed the defense for them to argue the case as to the evidence and whatever, as to where things stand, so the judge can make an well-informed decision. And I hope the judge realized the ramifications, because here is the kicker to all this. If she is extradited to the U.S., she's going to be here for a long, long time. And that's something that I don't believe China will stay quiet about. And it's going to be some major geopolitical impact to that.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be life and death for some people.
That's correct. So, we wanted to recap what we talked about in the part 1, especially when it comes down to the economic aspects of it. And this one has to do with Huawei, because this whole arrest.
Let's take just a brief look at Huawei.
Sure.
Who's the number one phone producer in the world?
Huawei.
Oh, Huawei. In terms of the technical infrastructure for all of this technology, who's providing cutting edge at the best possible price? Huawei.
Yeah.
And so we take a look at agriculture, for example, in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So much of this is now technologically internet-driven, and you go, well, who drives the tractors? Well, some of them are automatic. And it just goes on and on and on, and Huawei is leading the pack. And so there's severe competition, and a number of American companies and European companies are left behind.
Yeah.
And so the United States government somehow got it in its head that we need to impede Huawei's progress any which way we can. And they thought, well, maybe the daughter of the founder, who happens to be the CFO, maybe we can apply some pressure there, get some good leverage points for negotiating with the Chinese, and it'll be a big help to us. Yeah. Well, guess what?
They backfired. or how about this, Ross? How about applying pressure by competing? By creating some sort of centers for technology and so forth, where the Americans can compete with the Chinese. Wouldn't that be better? Rather than breaking
cooperate.
Rather than breaking the law, because basically what it amounts to, her detention is a violation of international law.
Oh, when we did some legal consulting on this, and it is clearly illegal what's going on here.
Yeah. I'm still shocked and surprised as to why Canada agreed to such violation, because it is a clear violation. But today we're going to be focusing on the geopolitical aspects of all this and her detention. And why is that important? Because if, as I mentioned earlier, if she gets extradited to the US, you're going to expect China to execute the two Michaels. And I have the name of those two. They call them the two Michaels, basically, because they are. The first guy is the name by Michael Spavor, and the second one is Michael Kovrig. And the question has always been, what are those two Michaels we're doing in China in the first place?
Yeah.
So China didn't disclose that information. Canada didn't disclose that information because that is the norm when it comes down to state secrets. Both countries, that's how they operate. So, of course, for the China, should Madam Meng Wanzhou get extradited, China could move forward with the execution of the two Michaels.
Would it be espionage or?
It would be under espionage, that's correct. So, however, the China will not disclose the reason why they were detained in the first place. Yes, some say it's in retaliation to the detention of Madam Meng Wanzhou. Others say no, it's because of the espionage part. It won't matter. China will not disclose this. Canada also will not disclose what the two Michaels were doing in China in the first place. It's like what just happened in Canada with the high-ranking naval officer who was passing information to the Russians.
Oh.
So Canada wasn't going to disclose that first till it became known, following some investigative journalism as to what led to that. So that will be one of the impact on that.
Well, you know, what we're seeing with the sanctions, what we're seeing with this Meng Wanzhou situation, more and more, it looks like we're itching for a fight, and the Chinese are willing to give it.
Well, yeah, because they are in possession now. They can sort of, and I'm just going to provide this analogy. If I am growing bigger, okay, why would I have to worry about what others are saying when I know my economy is doing great, my military is getting bigger, my technology is far ahead of any other, and even when it comes down to space, I am exploring the stars. So why would I have to worry about anything? And this is where the West is miscalculating. They're thinking they can bully China. Once again, we are not defending China. We are not promoting China. We are saying what's pragmatic. And what's pragmatic is, when it comes down to this case, geopolitically, it will have far-reaching consequences, because the signal that is going to be sending on the global geopolitical landscape is that countries with much power, they can do whatever they want. What happened to the sovereignty of other states? What happened to the human rights of an individual? That's like, for example, maybe an American going to China and China arrested me. I mean, for what reason?
You're right.
Well, and they're not going to do that just because I happen to be an American. And you have to state the cause for why are you arresting somebody. Well, Canada didn't do all this because all this falls under the norm of international law. So geopolitically, what's going to be happening, it's going to strain the relations between Canada and China, of course. And it becomes the question of, is the West approaching international matters in a way that is contradictory to what international law indicates?
Do you think there are a lot of other countries that are paying attention to this?
Oh, there are a lot, because here is the thing that just happened, and we'll share it with you, of course. I don't know whether you are aware of the Ryanair airplane that was forced to land in Minsk airport in Belarus, okay? And all of a sudden, the West is going forensic about the abuses of the government for landing the plane and human rights violations and all that stuff. What happened in 2013 when the plane that was carrying the president of Bolivia, Morales, was forced to land in Switzerland because they were thinking that Edward Snowden was on that plane? You didn't hear a thing about it.
Right.
And so this is where the double standards. And just to go back to Canada, if we are to see a behavior from a Canada like this, There is right now a video circling about a Polish priest who's been detained in Canada for 30 hours because he spoke against the government, didn't agree with the government. Since when Canada started to detain people for voicing their opinions? And this is where my concern.
And that was a big scandal. It was all over the internet.
It was.
Big.
It was shame on Canada to behave that way because they are tarnishing their image. And as we mentioned in our first part, because the elections are coming, so you can just see, it will become now on the Canadians to decide what type of government they want. It's not our place to say.
And you can count on the fact that Canadians are having the kind of conversation that says, well, are we really subservient to the United States? If they want something illegally done, we'll just go ahead and do it.
Well, it looks like they are, because that's what the government is.
Right.
So you take this and you apply it to the geopolitical landscape. So now, what do you think countries in the Middle East will be thinking? What do you think countries in Africa will be thinking? So if Canada, that is supposed to be the hallmark of respect of the law and so forth, behaving that way, then we shouldn't be blaming country A for acting whatever. We shouldn't be blaming country B for behaving that way. So, and that becomes the question of where do you draw the line as far as the human rights of an individuals and the sovereignty of a state. So those are the key aspects that I foresee the ramifications of Madam Meng Wanzhou if she gets extradited to the U.S.
Is there some bottom line takeaway, in addition to what you just said, that you think would be helpful for our viewers?
Well, the bottom line for you to understand is that the detention of this Chinese executive goes beyond just arresting somebody.
Right.
This is when you realize that the arrest of an individual as an executive will have an international ramifications. And with this case, we're going to see that. Should the judge decide in August to allow the extradition of Madam Meng Wanzhou to the U.S. So that's the bottom line, which means for you as an American, don't be shocked or surprised if you ever go to country A and you end up being arrested. Because that's the way it's going to become. So.
Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Also, be sure to check out our other videos. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.
And as always, stay informed. Till next time. Bye-bye.